Whether you are already service connected for GERD and IBS or either or you plan on filing for GERD or IBS, this is the video for you. I'm going to show you exactly how the VA rates GERD and IBS as of May 19th, 2024, which is today right now. Now, real quick, because I know this is going to be the number one question. If you are already service connected for GERD and or IBS, specifically both, you might want to consider an increase because GERD and IBS are going to be separated. Now, I'm going to be real with you. If you do not have the main symptom of how GERD is now rated, that's probably not going to be in your favor, and that will make sense as we find out exactly how the VA rates GERD. So, for instance, if you're 10% GERD right now and 10% IBS, you only have 10%. As of May 19th, those could be separate, or your GERD could be higher, your IBS could be higher, your IBS could be 30, your GERD could be 0. But the 30% would still be in your favor. So it really depends on what your symptoms are. There is not a cookie cutter answer, but majority, if you do not have the main symptom of GERD, which is esophageal stricture, this is probably not going to be in your favor, especially if you're not connected for both GERD and IBS. With that said, let's go ahead and see how GERD and IBS are rated. If you get value from this channel, I ask that you hit like, hit subscribe. We have live chats. I answer as many questions as possible. So support me, help get the word out to veterans. All of this is free. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right. So here's GERD 7206. As of May 19th, GERD will have its standalone diagnostic code of 7206, and we have gastroesophageal reflux disease, or GERD. So it's going to be rated at 80, 50, 30, 10, and 0%. Now, it's something to really think of, okay? Documented history of recurrent or refractory esophageal strictures, okay? The tightening of the throat, esophageal stricture causing dysphagia with at least one of the symptoms present. And then it goes ahead and lists these symptoms, and all of these, I'm going to go ahead and read it once. So you have aspiration, 2 is undernutrition, substantial weight loss as defined by that 38 CFR code, and treatment with either surgical correction of esophageal stricture. So there's surgery in there, or this really huge word, PEG tube, okay? So esophageal stricture, if you do not have esophageal stricture, you might want to really reconsider submitting that increase. And if you're just now filing for GERD, that does not apply to you because you're going to be rated on the new system anyways. Now, if you have an intent to file prior to May 19th, and you are what's going to happen is going to be rated on both the old rating schedule and the new rating schedule. The old one has them combined. The new one has them separated with the GERD being esophageal stricture. The VA will take the highest of those ratings. So if your highest rating would have been new, then they'll take the new rating. If your highest rating would have been the old, then they'll take the old rating, okay? There's nothing that you have to do outside of just file the claim. So 3 scenarios. 1, you're already rated for that, and you have to submit an increase for these to be separated. If it is advantageous, keep that in mind. It might not be. 2, you have the intent to file or the claim already in. You're going to be considered on both rating schedules. Or 3, you've never filed and now you are strictly on the new rating schedule. So those are your 3 scenarios, okay? That is your symptoms for 80%. And then as you go down, it essentially, these symptoms start decreasing, but the esophageal stricture is still required. So now you have 3 symptoms at 50%. Then you have requires dilation more than 2 times per year at 30%. And then the severity continues to decrease, okay? At 10% is documented, still the esophageal stricture, that's still required, okay? It's documented esophageal stricture, so you can't just say it, it has to be documented. That requires daily medication. So if your GERD requires daily medication for ES, it sounds like 10% right here, okay? And then, of course, there's a 0% rating that we're not even going to go over. Now, that is how GERD's rated. Let's go down to IBS, which is code. It is right here somewhere. We will see it. Hopefully, I did not pass it up. Oh, I did not. Here we go. 7319 is the diagnostic code for irritable bowel syndrome, IBS. Okay. 30%, 20, and 10. 20 is the addition here. So let's go ahead and start with the highest one. Abdominal pain related to defecation, at least 1 day per week. That is key there. During the previous 3 months, also key there. So the VA wants to see documentation of this, okay? 1 or more, 2 of the following. So change in stool frequency, changing stool form, altered stool passage, whatever that M word is, abdominal bloating, and subjective distension. So if you have IBS and you fall into this category here, that's 30%. All right. Now, 20% is essentially the same thing, just lower severity. And so we see for at least 3 days per month during the previous 3 months. Then it says 2 or the more of the following. This remains the same. And at 10%, it is at least once during the previous 3 months. And 2 or more of the following. Okay, that is how GERD and IBS are going to be rated. Now, keep in mind those 3 scenarios, and this part is absolutely critical. All right, if you are rated right now for GERD and you do not have esophageal stricture, 99% of the time, I can't think of a single scenario where you would want to put an increase in for the VA to reevaluate your GERD. Okay, that's GERD alone. If you are rated for IBS alone, you might want to put in a rating for IBS or put in the increase for IBS. A ton of IBS ratings are at 10%. And if you would meet the 20% criteria or the 30% criteria, go ahead and submit that claim. Okay. If you are rated on both GERD and IBS, that is where things are going to get tricky. All right. Would your GERD and IBS rating, which is combined right now, if it was separated and rated on the new schedule, okay, would that yield a higher percentage? 1, and 2, is it worth it? Okay, so for instance, if you're at 86%, which is rounded to 90%, and you're at 10% GERD, 10% IBS, and then your IBS bumps up to 20%, that would only put you at 87. Right? Maybe 88, depending on some bilateral factors there. And so you would still be rated at 90% overall. So there's no cookie cutter answer for this. Really, what I want to drive home is if you are that one that is really considering separating GERD and IBS or submitting the increase for GERD or IBS, okay? So combined or separated, or you have both or you have one, really, really read this. I'm going to put this below in the comments. And when it's updated to eCFR, I'll go ahead and replace that link. Right now, I'm using Federal Register, which is the final effective May 19th. So yeah, that's all I got. Stay informed.